Kiwis. They have ears. Hey folks, my name is Norb, and those Kiwis with ears sent me these, the Kiwi Ears Ardor. Some quick specs here of note: these advertise noise cancelling, transparency, 140 hours of battery life, or just over half that if you're using noise cancelling, which is still literally 3 days of sound. And they have 2 drivers in each ear cup, a 40mm driver for mids and bass, and a 10mm tweeter that's supposed to help out with things like spatial presentation and directionality for movies and games. Now, when Kiwi Ears sent me these for review, I was like, oh boy, I have zero idea what to expect, because I'd heard about Kiwi Ears, but it was only for their IEMs. I'll put it bluntly: if your budget is under $100, these are worth considering, but you'll want to know what you're getting. Still, these have left me wondering whether most people really need to spend more than $100 anymore. By the way, there's a product link in the description if you want to help the channel out at no cost to you, but that doesn't influence what I say in the video. The company had no input into my conclusions. A huge thanks to them for being so patient with me. I've been using these now for 2 or 3 months, and life just got in the way. Right off the bat, when I took them out of the box, the first thing I noticed was this excellent hard case with a carabiner for travel. The only thing that I wish it had was better cable management, because the cables are kind of rubbery and they go all over the place. These come with a 4-foot 3.5mm audio cable and a USB-C to USB-C cable. The 3.5mm cable lets you listen to them with the power off. Still, power wasn't something that I worried much about. 140 hours of battery life, a quick charge of 8 hours of music in 10 minutes, and they charge while playing music through USB-C. In fact, in 2 months, that is the only charging that I've done with these. So quick scores: 4 out of 5 for the case, with the only issue being the cable management, and 5 out of 5 for battery life, which is fantastic for travel. By the way, I grade things from a scale of 1 to 5, where 1 means I hate it and 5 means that I love it. There's no scientific method here, just my general opinion relative to the cost. If you have questions, hit me up in the comments. Now, if you're planning to travel with these, they do fold flat and they also fold in. The body is plastic, the headband is metal, and the headband and ear pads are artificial leather. The outside of the ear cups have this great looking leatherish, rubberish cover with their logo on it, which makes these really stand out. It's a tiny touch, but I love what it does with the looks. Note that according to Kiwi Ears, the ear pads are actually replaceable, but the company hasn't released the replacement pads just yet. That said, they creak a fair amount. Listen to this. If I'm doing more than just wearing them at my desk or something. If I'm walking around outside or chewing something or talking to someone, that's when this shows up, and it's probably my biggest complaint about these headphones. It wouldn't be a deal breaker for me when it comes to buying these, but I know that for a lot of people, it is. So for the build and looks, I'm giving these a 2 out of 5, though I'll bump it to a 3 out of 5 after the ear pad replacement comes out. Now, these come in at 286 grams or 10.1 ounces, so they're light, and their clamping force is perfect for long listening sessions, although it is a little loose if you plan on using these to bounce around at the gym. As for the ear pads themselves, I never felt a ton of ear heat, and the ear pads are super compliant, so I wear my glasses and I never feel like it's an issue. Your mileage here may vary, but for comfort, these get a 4 out of 5. Historically, noise canceling has been an area where things under $100 just did not compete. This has gotten much better over time, in an area where the Ardor does a decent job. It has a 5 microphone array dedicated to this, and while I haven't gotten to use these on a plane yet, the noise cancelling was excellent at reducing most environmental noise. So for noise cancelling, I'll average it to a 4 out of 5. Transparency likewise was excellent, sounding pretty natural most of the time, although some higher frequencies were emphasized a bit. Still, for transparency, I'm giving these a 4 out of 5. The Kiwi Ears Ardor also features multi-point connection and can connect to 2 devices at a time. This worked well, and if I was listening to music from my computer and a phone call came in, the call would come through, I'd answer it, hang up, and it would go right back to the computer music. The only strange thing was that after that happened, whenever I used the play pause button on the headphone, it would switch over to my phone and start playing music, but it wouldn't pause the music on my computer. Now, these don't have an app, but the folks at Kiwi Ears tell me that they're working on one that includes an EQ. Finally, if you double tap on the power button, you can access your smart assistant. If you plan to use these for phone calls, take a listen. This is the sound of the microphone of the Kiwi Ardor. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. There's a little wind coming my way, so that's probably interfering a little bit. A good amount of traffic coming in. There we go. That was a nice loud truck. All right. And this is what you would sound like, if you're walking around outside with these and you're talking to someone on the phone. What I found most impressive was just how well they handled reducing environmental noise to let your voice be heard. So for calls, I'm giving these a 4 out of 5. When it comes to sound, these headphones deliver a generally balanced sound signature that leans slightly V-shaped. This creates an engaging, fun sound that most listeners will find pleasing without veering into excessive coloration. It does have a higher bass boost, and it does have a higher boost in some of the treble. What's really impressive is how they've implemented this tuning at their price point. While many budget headphones with a V-shaped sound signature suffer from hollow mids or a bloated bass, the Ardor manages to maintain decent coherence across the overall frequency spectrum. For a wireless option in this category at this price, it is extremely well executed. These have a dual dynamic driver configuration, 40mm for bass and 10mm for treble. Usually multi-driver configurations are considered a bit of a gimmick, but it does appear to contribute to better driver control than you typically find in wireless options at this price. Connectivity is solid with Bluetooth 5.4 and a great range, though the codec support is limited to just SBC and AAC, and that's a notable omission for those seeking higher resolution wireless audio, although at this price, I usually find that the impact of that is oversold. Speaking of connectivity, for the best sound, I highly recommend using the USB-C cable. You can plug it into your phone and go from there. What I found surprising was just how good these sounded powered off using the 3.5mm cable. Normally, wireless headphones sound like absolute garbage if they're not powered on. But these sounded shockingly good. Not as good as a dedicated wireless headphone, mind you, but they were a pleasant surprise. Now let's talk about bass a little bit. The low-end performance is one of the stronger aspects here, both metaphorically and literally. The bass is deep, it's powerful while maintaining decent control for the price. Unlike many bass-boosted consumer headphones, the Ardor's enhancement doesn't muddy the mid-range or introduce a significant amount of bloat. There's enough extension to properly convey fundamental tones in bass-heavy tracks without overwhelming the rest of the mix, giving the Ardor a more refined presentation than most budget competitors. Moving on to the mids, the mid-range tuning is surprisingly well executed. The vocals coming through with clarity and presence, and instrument separation is decent enough, with a good amount of detail. Still, there is enough presence to properly convey vocal performances and mid-range focus instruments without them getting lost in the mix. They don't sound muddy, and that's something that budget wireless headphones often struggle with. As for the treble, this is where I had some issues. The treble extends well, but it presents a pretty significant elevation from about 6 to 10 kilohertz. To translate that, it's not so much a sound I hear as one that I feel in the music. Like, I just listen to it and I'm like, I'm uncomfortable listening to this and I don't know why. Despite this, the Ardor still presents significantly better than most headphones at this price, providing enough air and detail without becoming overtly aggressive. Now, here's what all this means when I'm actually using them. And as a note, keep in mind that I tend to prefer headphones that are either neutral or a bit on the warmer side. So preface everything that I say with "to my ears." Also, I mostly listen to classical, jazz, and folk, although I make it a point to listen broadly because there's just so much good stuff out there. Starting with pop and electronic, the sound on these is really good. The sound is fun, that bass boost gives you enough punch without being overwhelming, and vocals coming through clearly. That 6 kHz peak shows up, making some synths a bit sharp, but overall, great gym headphones for pop music, because in the gym, I'm like, I want that V-shape, I want that lots of bass, lots of treble, and I'm like, grr, let me push that weight because Imagine Dragon says that I can. On the other end, things like lo-fi and chill hop are absolutely great with these. I love them for that. With hip hop, the bass is good. It's boosted, but well done. The mids are fairly neutral though, which serves vocals well. So while these won't rattle your brain with bass, vocals sound pretty good. When it comes to metal and rock, this is a bit of a mixed bag. The bass is amazing, but the highs can get in the way. You can hear just how loud the 6 kHz peak is at the start of Metallica's One. With most headphones, that war scene with bullets flying, it's actually fairly quiet. It's in the background. But these? No. That's front and center. You're in the middle of your battle right there. For progressive rock, that peak means that I have to turn down the volume some, and then I can't hear everything else properly. As for classical, this one's hard for me. Overall, the Ardor is really excellent. The bass is really good, with the mids being very satisfying, but those peaks between 6 and 10 kHz make violins, flutes, and other treble instruments sound unnaturally bright at times. Chamber music might be okay, and vocal works are fine, but a solo violin? These are not necessarily my choice for that. And I can't wait until Kiwi Ears comes out with their EQ tool because it wouldn't take much to fix this. That aside, these are actually some of my favorites for classical music below $100. Moving on to podcasts and audiobooks, and normally I don't cover them at all in these reviews, but I did find a lot of spoken content hard to listen to because it was just too sharp. Again, not something I heard, something that I felt. Female vocals especially sounded artificial and harsh in that peak region. Now, moving on to movies, let me be clear. I love these for movies and I will choose them over many more expensive headphones for this. They are much better suited for that than I was expecting. Now, I know I've said that the Ardor doesn't have EQ because it doesn't have an app yet, but that's not entirely true. If you double tap on the A and C button, it turns on movie mode, and if you triple tap the power button, it turns on game mode. Both of these modes improve the latency. They also emphasize the use of the 10mm treble driver to supposedly help with the spaciousness and directionality. I didn't experience that. Regardless, for movies, the sound was rich and exciting and full. The V-shape works very well for this. Dialogue comes in through clearly and explosions have a decent impact. As for games, I'll let others speak to that. The only gaming that I do on my phone is pretty basic, and when I play games at home, it'll be on my console and I use wired headphones for that. I'll just say that these are good enough for my needs. So when it comes to sound, I'm giving these a 4.5 out of 5, but that's considering the price and the fact that they're primarily wireless headphones. The only thing knocking these down is that peak that I keep talking about. There are 3 headphones that I compare to these, both because I have them on hand and because I think they make for good comparison points. The first is a wildly popular headphone on this channel, the Sennheiser Momentum 4. And I know I'm going to get slammed in the comments for this, but hear me out. The Momentum 4 does finer details better, sure, and it does have much tighter and well-controlled sound, better features, whatever. But if you want a similar sound and don't have the money for either the Momentum 4 or the Accentum, then this is a solid choice. The second is the One More SonoFlow, which comes in at about the same price. The only advantage the SonoFlow has over the Kiwi Ears is the app. The comfort is about the same, which says a lot because I love the comfort on the SonoFlow, but the sound of the Kiwi Ears is just overall much better, much cleaner. They both have a similar creaking issue though. And finally, the Soundcore Life Q30. Now I know that the Ardor is priced closer to the Soundcore Space One, but the Q30 has been my favorite budget headphone since it came out. It just did everything that I wanted to right. That said, except for the in-app EQ, the Kiwi Ears beats it in every way. Kiwi Ears has made a fantastic pair of headphones here, and one that I don't hesitate at all to recommend to most people looking for headphones under $100. And in fact, it may have become my favorite headphone under $100 now. I'm still debating on that one personally. That said, who do I recommend these for? If you want headphones with an exciting and fun sound signature, then these are definitely worth considering. And in fact, I think most people are going to fit in this camp. But if you're looking for something more laid back and warm, or if you're looking for something strictly for audiobooks and podcasts, or if you're sensitive to peaks in the treble region, then these might not be for you. All right. Thanks for watching, and if you're still here, please consider tapping that like button. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments, and if you want more content like this, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. It helps out the channel out more than you know. Take care.